Good morning, good morning. Happy Monday. How's everyone doing today? Thumbs up, good, good, good. Glad to hear it, glad to hear it. Let me get mine. Let's see here. I got too many windows open. Holy moly, let's close some of these windows. Well, anyone do anything exciting or interesting this weekend? No? Yeah, it's kind of a quiet weekend for me too.
I found $12 at a football game.
You did what?
I found $12 at a football game.
You found 12 bucks at a football game. That's pretty cool. I like that. That's always a good day, finding money. Let's see, someone else came in. Brianna, welcome Brianna. Yeah, I one time, can't remember where it was, but it seems like I found a roll of money, and it was like 120 bucks or something like that. And you know, nothing claiming whose it was, so I'm like, sweet. I guess I just earned 120 bucks. But I'm sure someone was probably disappointed that day. But that's one of those things. If you find that much money, it's like you can't just go to people, did you lose $120? Because everyone's going to say, yes, I did. So, all right. Well, let's see here. What time is it? 10:02. Let's go ahead and get started. And let me see here. Let me just double check something real quick. Let me get my math class up over here. Last week, I'm still getting to know 7th and 8th graders this year, and it seems like I had someone in the wrong class last time. I don't think it was any of you all, but no, it looks like everyone who's here should be here. So good. All right. Well, so here's what we're going to do today. I'm changing things up just a little bit, not too much, but I want to make sure that we have more practice time, right? I still want to do, once in a while, we'll do like note taking directly from the lessons together, just so you can kind of get a good idea of good note taking practices. So you become better at taking notes and better at getting important information. But I also want to use these live lessons to really like get more practice in. So my phone's buzzing at me. So what we're going to do, we have a little warm up from 1.02, which is what we went over last time. Today we're going to go over 1.04, multiplying rational numbers. There is no 1.03 because I think that's a mid-module check or something. And then next time, so Thursday, we'll go over 1.05. And actually there's a written assignment with that one. And so we're going to actually start that written assignment together. But I want to put up my agendas like this pretty much all the time, so you can see what we went over last time. That'll be our warm-up, what we're going over today, and then what's going to be coming up for next time. Because the idea is I would like for you guys to, sometime before next Thursday or this coming Thursday, maybe at least start looking at 1.05 and maybe even start taking notes on that one, but at least read through the lesson and get a little familiar with it, okay? So that way, every time you come to the virtual session, you should have already kind of looked at the lesson that we're going to be going over for that day, okay? All right, and so I've kind of also, well, this is our warm up here, actually. Let's do that first, and then I'll go over what I was going to go over as far as the virtual sessions now. But, so in your notebook, I want you to use absolute value, which was something we kind of went over last time, to show the difference between -5 and 3 on a number line. This is challenging. But I want you guys to think about it and see what you come up with, okay? And this is one of those things, and when I challenge you.
What was the question?
What's that?
What was the question?
Oh, it's right on, oh, am I not sharing my screen? Oh, hey, my bad. I wasn't sharing my screen with you guys. There we go. There we go. That's the question. Well, you didn't see the agenda either, so let me go back one before we do this. Sorry. Go back one. So the agendas are always going to look like this. So the first one's going to be a warm up, and that's what we kind of went over last time we were together. The middle one is going to be whatever we're doing today, and then the bottom one is going to be what we're doing next time. So next time 1.05. There you go. And that's good because now it's on the recording too. Okay, guys got the idea there for the agenda? All right, let me, next page. Okay, there's the question. So use absolute value to show the difference between -5 and 3 on a number line. And I gave you a hint right there, which I'll let you guys read. But like I was gonna say earlier, when I challenge you, this might be something that is, you know, a little challenging. I don't really accept, I don't know, or I don't know what to do. Because even if you're not sure how to answer the question, there is something about this question that you know. Something about this question that you know. I mean, it can be even as simple as, I know what -5 and 3 are, right? But I want you to try and put something down on paper to try to work out your thoughts here to see, okay, what could I do, right? What are some ideas? Even if you don't solve it, just to get started, okay? I'll give you about 3 minutes and we'll see what you come up with. Oh, Camden's done. Good job, Camden. You'll find out. Get my pens out here while you guys are working on that. In your notebooks, besides just an answer, right, you should have what you're doing to solve that, what you're doing to come up with that using absolute value. And if you need to look back at lesson 1.02, that's totally fine. Got no problem with that. All right, give you one more minute. Oh. Welcome, Serenity. We are solving this problem on screen right now. And I was just about to start going over it, actually. So let's see here. I lost you guys. There you are. How did you end up over there? I've got a bunch of screens going on, so. Okay. All right, so Camden, you said you were done. Do you want to share what you did?
Sure. So at first I thought it was -2
Mm-hmm.
because of this, but then I realized that I went 6, so I went back 1, which made it -1. So my actual answer is -1.
So you started out with -2, and then you realized, no, I don't think that's quite right. And then you ended up with, I couldn't hear what your final answer was.
-1.
-1, okay. And so what was your process? How did you go about figuring that out? How did you use absolute value?
Well, I went to 3,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went backwards 5, which made me go into the negative part.
Aha. Okay, so you just used the number line and you went on using the number line, you got that. Now that's good. So absolute value really is how many jumps you went, right?
Right.
Okay. So if absolute value is how many jumps you went, would that be a negative number?
Yeah.
Well, can you jump a negative 5 feet? Right? All right. Think about that for just a second. So Leo, you did the same thing. You used the number line and you went backwards too, right? Or you started at, I don't know if you started at -5 and went forward or what. But anyone else want to share before I go on here? Yes, Camden.
I actually just thought about it, and it says -5 and 3, not 3 minus 3 plus -5.
Ah, so there you go. That you're using some language that's good. That so 3 plus a -5, right?
Right.
But my hint here that I gave you was anytime that you show the difference between two numbers, you subtract one from the other. Okay. So if I want to find the difference between, let's just use positive numbers for a second here. Let's say I wanted to find the difference between, I'm just going to put this on paper here. The difference between, well, I use easier, like straightforward numbers, 1 and 3. So what's the difference between 1 and 3? For everybody. Type it in the chat box. What do you think? Difference between 1 and 3. Brianna says 2. Leo says 2. Good. Okay. So you can tell on a number line, right? If I did a number line here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. Right? So if I start here at 1 and I go to 3, that's 2 jumps. So there's a space between these of 2. That's a difference of 2, right? So that's what I want to kind of get that way of describing it down by saying the difference. So if we're looking at -5 and 3, so the difference between -5 and 3, let me just write it down here. We subtract one from the other, right? But, one huge but, we use absolute value because let's look at this for a second. We draw this out in a number line, right? We'll start here, -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. We'll put 4 there too. -5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 5, okay? If I start at -5 and I go to 3, here's 3 over here, there's a difference of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 jumps between them. Okay? So we can do it on a number line. We can see it on a number line, but let's think about this with absolute value. This right here, my friends, is absolute value. The number of jumps is the absolute value. It's really how much distance is between those two numbers on a number line. That's it. But how do we show this? Well, we use these symbols, remember, right? We use those symbols, absolute value symbols, and we say, I want to know just the absolute difference between these two numbers, meaning I just want to know the space in between them. It's never going to be a negative number, right? So we could do it both ways. We could say -5 minus 3, or we could say 3 minus -5. Either way you do it, you get the same thing. Because if I go from -5 to 3, it's 8 jumps. If I go from 3 to -5, it's 8 jumps, right? So let's solve these. What's -5 minus 3? Let's say you start at -5 on the number line, and you, well, I should have been a bigger number line here. Let's say you start at -5 and you go backwards 3.
So was that right the first time?
Well, this is the answer right here, 8. Let's look at the question again. So we want to use absolute value to show the difference between -5 and 3. Okay? So again, what's the difference? When I say difference, the difference is just the space in between those numbers on a number line. That's one way of looking at it. Okay? So, mathematically, we can do it this way. Because the difference, to show a difference, I'm just going to write this down. You might want to put this in your notebooks too. To show difference between two numbers, you subtract, right? You subtract one number from the other.
Can you repeat that?
Okay, so let's do this now together again. So if I take these two here, -5 minus 3, if I start at -5 and go backwards 3, right, subtracting 3, where am I going to end up? I didn't draw it out all out here on the number line, but if I start here at -5 and I go backwards 3 jumps, what number would I end up at? Leo, Blake, Brianna, Serenity, any ideas? And Serenity, I can't see you there. You need to turn your camera on. -8. Thank you, Leo. Thank you, Camden. Yes, -8, right? So let me just draw an arrow down here. So if I solve this out, I get the absolute value of -8, okay? Now, just leave this alone. Let's do this one over here. If I do 3 minus a -5, now this was the tricky one. This was the tricky one when we went over kind of rules about addition and subtraction. If I, let's just think about this for a second. If I subtract 5, if I go 3 minus 5, right? 3 minus 5, I'm going backwards, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But minus a -5, anytime I throw another negative in there, that just flips the direction. So instead of going backwards 5, I'm going minus a negative. So I'm actually going back to the right. Let me explain that one more time. If this was just 3 minus 5, right? If this negative sign wasn't there, 3 minus 5, I'm going backwards 5, right? But since it's a negative 5 I'm subtracting, it's like double reverse. So it's minus a minus. So here's an easy way to think about it. If you can see my camera, if you've got two minus signs, and this actually works for multiplication too. You have a negative number times a negative number, it works the same way. But if you're subtracting, and I'm subtracting a negative number, right? The two negatives come together to make a positive. Another way you can think about it. So really, this is the same thing as 3 plus 8. Oops, 3 plus 5, sorry. 3 plus 5. Right? Thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay. So again, that's just what you got to remember. If you subtract a negative, it's really adding. Because you're subtracting and subtracting again. You're going back and forth, right? Okay. So you can see here, the absolute value of negative 8 is what?
The absolute value.
Oops, we lost somebody.
8.
8. 3 plus 5 is 8. The absolute value of 8 is 8. We get the same answer both ways. Okay? So, again, the difference between two numbers is just subtracting one from the other, and you can go either way. Doesn't matter. If you're using absolute value, you just want to know the space between those two numbers on a number line. Okay. Let's move on. Oh, actually, hold on. You know what? I think my screen was paused there, so you wasn't seeing when I was writing. Sorry. You guys see that now? Sorry. If I'm explaining things to you and you're like, wait, I don't see what you're writing, let me know. Because I forgot I paused when I moved the screen out of the way. I'll just let you look at that for just a second. And you can see what I did. Negative 5 minus 3 is negative 8. Absolute value of negative 8 is 8. 3 minus a negative 5, just going backwards. I'm just doing it backwards to show you I get the same thing. Minus a negative, that's actually plus, right? So it's actually 3 plus 5, which is 8. And of course, the absolute value of 8 is 8. Cool? Okay. If you want to come back and write this down, you can. I'm going to move on, though. Just watch the video if you want to write it down fully. I want to move into other stuff. Okay. So we did that. Check. Done. Now, preparing for virtual sessions and notes. I just wanted to go over this with you, some good tips and tricks for success in this class. So first of all, virtual sessions, I'm really highlighting the important pieces from the lessons, but not all of the pieces, right? So I'll be going over and writing some things down in my notebook, right? And you guys can write along with me. But one thing to consider doing is if you've already started notes, let's just say that, I'm gonna zoom that out. I can't zoom it out any farther. Let's just say that you've already started doing notes. And I always do notes on the right side, right? I never do notes on the back side of the paper. I always do notes on the right side, okay? What you might consider is when we do virtual session notes, like say we're gonna go over, you're doing notes here on 1.04, and we're doing a virtual session about 1.04. You might wanna put some extra notes over here for what we're doing in class. And that way, if you haven't finished your notes yet or haven't started, you can use these as kind of your guides, kind of what we went over in the highlights to help guide your notes, okay? So you can kind of do them together. That's just a suggestion. You can do it however you want to. All right, but just remember, go back into the lessons. Even though we've covered 1.04 today, go back into the lesson and make sure you've gotten everything else out of that lesson that you need to, okay? It's up to you to take complete notes from the lessons. All right, and I already said that. I want to use more of our time with these sessions for practice. And so it's a good idea to have at least read through the lesson we're going to be going over that day. Okay, so again, from the agenda, on the agenda, you're always going to see, let me just slide this over here so you can see it again. You're always going to see the, what we did last time, what we're doing today, and then what we're doing next time. You'll always see that, so you'll know what's coming up next time. Okay. All right. What else? So, like I said, I always post that agenda for you so you know it's on the next one. And last but not least, unless we're specifically taking notes, use the backside of your notebook for practice. So when we do practice in these virtual sessions, you can do, like I just showed you, you can use the left side of your notebook there, and, well, there's a little delay there. Use the left side of your notebook for practice. Okay, so kind of said those things already, but I wanted to go back over them again. Now, one other thing is, oh, I don't know why it's doing that. That's weird. Like a recap. There we go. I'm color coding our notes too. So our color code works like this. Objectives are always going to be green, and when I do them on these slides, vocabulary is going to be in yellow. A rule, which is something new. Rules you'll notice in the lessons, and they're like kind of like a rule, like when you're subtracting a negative number, it's a positive, or you're adding. Those are kind of like rules, right? Those are going to be purple. Examples, when we do examples, those will be orange, and practice are going to be blue. So we'll kind of get used to these colors as we go. You don't have to memorize this. It's just kind of showing you what's out there. Okay. All right. So let's go over some stuff here. And you already should have your notebooks out ready to go. So move on. Okay, so our objectives for 1.04 is, and you have to write this down. You should have it in your notes eventually when you do notes for this, but just for right now, just know what we're going to be doing is using the properties of operations to multiply rational numbers. We talked about addition and subtraction before. Now we're talking about multiplication. I can describe and use the rules for multiplying signed numbers. So again, when you're multiplying two negatives, what happens, that kind of thing. And I can interpret products of rational numbers by describing real world contexts. So we can kind of use multiplication to model things in life. That's basically all that says. Okay. All right. So we'll come back to that and kind of double check ourselves in a little bit. Signed numbers. So this is vocabulary, and this should be in the lesson. So if you want to go back and write this down later, you can. But this is an important part. So a number that's either positive or negative. So examples here, 5 or positive 5, it's basically positive, right? If we don't write a sign in front of it, if we don't write anything in front of that number, then we assume it's positive, right? A -3 is a -3, right? I think you guys get the idea there, right? And 0 is neither positive nor negative. 0 is right in the middle on the number line. So anything to the right of 0 is positive, anything to the left of 0 is negative, but 0 has no sign, okay? All right, and this is not in the lesson. So this might be something you want to write down on the left side of your notebook just as a kind of a highlight there and include that in your notes. But the result of a multiplication operation is what a product is. So I don't know if you've heard the term product, you may have learned it already, but when you hear product, that just means the answer to a multiplication problem. That's all that means. So an example, 2 times 5 equals 10. 10 is your product. And just a little forethought, does anyone know what the word for an answer to a division problem is? If I had 10 divided by 5 equals 2, what do we call the 2? Well, Leo, that came out, I think, in Russian. So I don't know what that says. Sorry. Can you say it in English? Also, I lost your video there, Leo. I can't see you anymore. Okay, so what is the answer to a division problem called? Or maybe you don't know. Maybe you were just saying something else in Russian. It is a quotient, which is a weird word. Quotient. Okay, but anyway, product is the answer of multiplication. Now, practice time. So, I don't know why I put uses. It should say use. Use signed numbers to show how much money you earn by walking dogs if you walk 3 dogs at $5 each. So right now in your notebooks, let's take what we see on the screen here and put this into mathematics. How would we model that, or how would we write that out in mathematics? Oh, that means good morning. Thank you, Leo. Now, I don't necessarily want the answer here. I mean, I do want the answer, but I want, more importantly, how would you get to the answer? How would you write it out mathematically to get to the answer? I'll read it one more time to you. So, using signed numbers, show how much money you earn by walking dogs if you walk 3 dogs at $5 each. All right, anyone have it written out in their notebook yet they want to share? You can even type it in the chat box. It's probably a simple enough operation. You could type it in the chat box. Yeah, you could do it either way. You could do it as a system of adding, or you could do it as multiplication. So if you did it as adding, what would you do? How would you write it out? Yep, there you go. 3 5s, right? 3 dogs, and each of those dogs are worth $5. So you can even look at those. Good, Brianna, thank you. You can even look at those. Oh, wait, Brianna, let's see. We did 5 times 5 times 5. So let's think about this for a second. If we did, let's scooch to paper real quick. So let's say, let's start with the answer and work backwards, actually. So what do you guys think the answer is to this question? I'll put it back up here real quick. What do you guys think the answer is to this question? Oh, wrong key. Yes, I think you got your mistake there. 15. 15 is the answer. 3 dogs, $5 each. We're going to get 15, right? Now we can do it Leo's way. And we can say, well, if each dog's $5, then it would be 5 plus another 5 for the second dog plus another 5 for the third dog, right? And that equals 15. Or we could say, well, we've got 3 dogs, and each of them are $5 each that we're going to get from walking, so we could multiply by 5. And we get the same thing, okay? There you go. That's using signed numbers. These just happen to all be positive. You're like, well, wait a minute, I do that all the time, right? Very good. All right. So rules for multiplying sign numbers. Now, what happens if we get some negatives and stuff mixed in there, right? Well, pairs of numbers with the same sign, okay, multiplied together make a positive product. So we know that if we multiply two positive numbers together, like we just did, these are both positive, right? That's so weird. It's such a lag. Like my finger was there like as soon as I said it, but you don't see it on screen there for a bit. I don't know why it's so laggy. But this is a positive 3 and a positive 5, same sign, so we get a positive answer. If, let's just write this down, if this was a negative 3 times a negative 5, we still get a positive 15. Because again, same sign, if we have a pair, that's two numbers with the same sign, we multiply them together, we're always going to get a positive answer. Okay? But if we have pairs of numbers with different signs, we get a negative product. Okay? So our answer is going to be negative. So let's see that in action here. There's a little table. And this table is, I don't know if this is, it's not in the lesson as this. So you might want to jot that down in your notebook. In fact, I'm going to pause here for a second to let you do that. If you have a positive times a positive, you get a positive. Because again, same sign, right? A pair of the same sign. If you have a positive times a negative, different signs, you get a negative. If you have a negative times a positive, just the other way around. Both different signs, you get a negative answer. And at the very bottom, stop moving my mouse so that thing goes away. If you have a negative times a negative, you get a positive. Because again, same sign, you get a positive. So I would write this down in your notebook and bookmark this page because you will come back to it. You will definitely come back to it. And once you're done writing that in your notebooks, give me a thumbs up. Awesome. Blake, I can't see you if your thumb is up or not. There you are. Thank you. Camden still writing? Got it? Awesome. Oh, almost. You'll probably use this again in 8th grade, maybe even in high school. I don't know, unless you memorize it. But if you use my little sign trick here, negative times negative, because that's what most people forget, is positive. Ah, thank you, Blake. Okay, how are we doing, Camden? Almost there? Okay. All right, very good. Okay, so let's do some practice. In your notebook, let's try these. 3 times 8, 2 times a negative 3, negative 4 times 4. Well, you can read the rest. I won't read them all to you. Do those in your notebook. I'm going to give you about 1 minute. You're like, what? Here's the trick. It's just multiplication. Just look at the signs when you're done and see if you've got an odd number, if you've got opposite or two different signs or two of the same signs. And you'll know if your answer is positive or negative. The last one might be tricky, but hopefully you remember the rule about 0. Probably learned that one already. Okay, 30 seconds. Anyone done yet? Whoo! Brianna's fast multiplier. Serenity too. Good job. All right, if you're not quite done yet, don't worry about it. I'm going to start going over them. You can finish up as we go. All right, so the first one, 3 times 8. Well, I'm not even worried about the signs yet. I just want about the numbers. So 3 times 8, 24, right? If we remember our multiplication tables. What's my sign here? Positive or negative?
Positive.
You just type it in the chat box, plus or minus. Plus, there you go. I'll put it in there even though we don't need to because it's positive, right? Same signs, positive times positive. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6 because we have 1 negative, 1 positive, right? So that's the thing about the negative. 1 negative can turn 1 positive also negative. Negative 4 times 4. What did you get for that one? Negative 16. Good. Negative times positive. 1 times 6, well, we know the answer is 6 there, but is it a negative or a positive?
Negative 6.
Negative, yep. And 0 times negative 4, what does that answer? Or what does that equal, sorry? 0, right. Anything times 0, doesn't matter if we're multiplying by a positive or a negative, we're always going to get 0. Good. Awesome job. Okay. So more rules for multiplying sign numbers. This is not in the lesson, so this is something that you should write down. So an even amount of negative numbers multiplied together gives a positive answer. Okay? An even number of negative numbers, so 2 or 4 or 6 or 8, we multiply those together, we get a positive answer. If we have an odd amount of negative numbers multiplied together, we get an a negative answer. Hold on, let me change that. Oh my gosh. Late night lesson planning is sometimes dangerous. Negative. Negative answer. There we go. Let me reload this. Fix that. There you go. All right. While you guys are writing that down, I'm going to show you why that happens. Well, actually, we're going to do practice, and then we'll see it for ourselves. So an even amount of negative numbers multiplied together, you get a positive answer. And an odd number of negative numbers multiplied together gives you a negative answer. As soon as you got that written down, give me 2 hands up. Awesome. Okay. Here, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to, oh, I can't do that. I'm just going to throw this in the chat box so you guys can copy it, and we'll move on if you don't quite have it yet, because we're almost out of time here. So in the chat box, I will put this rule, and you can finish. Bam, there it is. Okay, so let's try this out. Let's see how this works. Let's do these together real quick. So and anytime I do negative numbers, I put them in parentheses just so we can make sure that we know that that sign goes with that number. That's one thing that's important about negatives. If there's a negative in front of a number, that negative sign has to stay with that number, okay? All right, so we have -4 times -2 times -3 times -1. First of all, before we even solve this, that's so weird. I switch over and I see it. I'm still writing on screen. Is our answer going to be negative or positive here?
Negative.
I don't care what the number is. I just want to know if it's going to be negative or positive.
Negative.
Someone said negative. I see positive. So, Brianna, you said positive. Why do you think positive? Serenity says negative.
Negative.
Okay, so those of you that said negative, why do you say negative? So I'm making all of you justify your answers here. So Brianna, why did you put positive? And Serenity, why did you put negative? And I think that was Blake that said negative. So Blake, why did you say negative? Serenity says, because all the numbers are negative. That is what you might think, right? If I was adding all these together, right? If this was addition and these were plus signs instead of multiplication signs, you'd be right, because I'd start with -4 and I'd add a -2. That means I'd subtract 2 and I'd subtract 3 and I'd keep going backwards. But this is multiplication. This is different. Let me show the rule one more time here. So the rule again was, if we have an even amount of negative numbers multiplied, we're going to get a positive answer. Odd number, we have negative. So do we have an even number or an odd number of negative numbers? What do you guys think? Do we have an even number or an odd number? Even, Brianna says. So remember, we also said another rule was every pair. If we have a pair of numbers with the same sign and you multiply them together, you're going to get a positive answer. So let's just do it this way. Let's group these, and I'm gonna use the associative property of multiplication, and I'm gonna group these like so. I've got two pairs now, don't I? So this pair, same sign, that's gonna be positive. This pair, same sign, it's gonna be positive. So I know my answer has gotta be positive. I know my answer's gotta be positive. Make sense? Of an even number. If you can do that, if you forget what evens and odds are, sometimes we forget, well, wait, is 5 an odd or an even number? I don't remember. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, those are evens. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, those are odds. But if you forget that, you can always do this little trick and just pair them up and make pairs. If you end up with all pairs together and nothing, nothing left over, you're going to get a positive answer if they're all negatives. If you pair them up like that and you get one extra at the end, it's going to be a negative answer. So let's try that one more time with this one. -4 times -2 times -3, which is basically just the first three numbers of the first one. So -4 times -2 times -3. Now, what do we think? Is our answer going to be positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative, and why do you think so?
Because there's not an even amount of the numbers.
Because what?
Because there's not an even amount.
There's an odd amount of numbers. There's 3 this time. So this time, these two still come together to make a positive, but now this one's all by itself. I can't pair it up with something else. So this one's a negative. And if I do a positive times a negative, negative's going to win out that battle. I'm going to have a negative. So again, remember, 2 signs that are opposites always give you a negative answer. So if I have a negative times a positive or a positive times a negative, I can get a negative. And we're all frozen. Uh-oh. Well, that's okay because we're out of time. Actually, we went a little over. But I thank you. I hope this makes sense. If you're still a little fuzzy on this, go back and rewatch this video again, go through these problems again, read through that lesson, take notes, and just practice, because it's all kind of, you got to memorize this one, I think, a little bit. Okay, you guys have a great rest of the day. Again, next time we're going to be going over 1.05, and we're going to be doing starting the assignment that goes with that. And I will see you all on Thursday. Have a great rest of the day. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.